Greetings and welcome to Live Life and Socialize. My name is Tricia Homrichhausen and I will be your guide as we explore the benefits and how-tos of social engagement and volunteerism. In my work as a volunteer engagement specialist for Independence at Home, I engage individuals to fulfill our mission to keep seniors living healthy and independently at home. I've also been a volunteer with several organizations. I've experienced everything from stuffing envelopes to advocating for the rights of older adults residing in nursing homes. I'm passionate about volunteerism, and I look forward to sharing my passion with you. First, a little more about Independence at Home. Independence at Home is a nonprofit organization and a community service of SCAN Health Plan. In this role, we serve individuals 55 plus and their caregivers. We are not an insurance plan or medical program. We provide customized home and community-based services addressing both healthcare and social needs. All of our programs are provided at no cost to the community. Due to their negative impact on seniors, we will first discuss loneliness and social isolation. We will also take a look at some solutions to these issues, with a special emphasis on volunteerism. Let's start by taking a moment to read this powerful quote together. During my years caring for patients, the most common pathology I saw was not heart disease or diabetes. It was loneliness. Dr. Vivek Murthy, Surgeon General of the United States from 2014 to 2017. Dr. Murthy went on to say, loneliness and weak social connections are associated with a reduction in lifespan similar to that caused by smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and even greater than that associated with obesity. Loneliness is also associated with a greater risk of cardiovascular disease, dementia, depression, and anxiety. 43% of older Americans report feeling lonely. Some healthcare experts describe this as an epidemic of loneliness. Nearly a third of older adults who live outside of nursing homes or hospitals are living alone. And according to the U.S. Census Bureau, by the year 2030, the population of older adults is projected to outnumber the population of children for the first time in the history of the United States. Here's another powerful quote from the Wall Street Journal, September 12, 2017. Medical experts say social isolation needs to be seen as a public health issue. Loneliness is hazardous to your health, and more psychologists and doctors are calling for a public health campaign to fight it. This has been underappreciated in the past, says Julianne Holt Lundstedt, a professor of psychology and neuroscience at Brigham Young University. But cumulative data over hundreds of studies with millions of participants provides robust evidence of the importance of social connections for physical health and risk for premature mortality. Now let's discuss why loneliness is a frequent issue for older adults. Retirement. We may have worked for most of our lives and now our career comes to an end. What we might not have realized is how much of that time was a social experience. Our work often took us out of our home and created a variety of situations where we socially engaged with others. And even those brief interactions provided an opportunity for socialization. Illness. This could be our own illness or the illness of a loved one. One thing to keep in mind is that individuals who are caregivers may become socially isolated themselves as they assume more and more care-related responsibilities. Hearing loss. Untreated hearing loss has serious emotional and social consequences for older persons, according to a study by the National Council on Aging. The survey of 2,300 hearing impaired adults aged 50 and older found that those with untreated hearing loss were more likely to report depression, anxiety, and paranoia, and were less likely to participate in organized social activities compared to those who wear hearing aids. Inability to drive self. I once heard a gentleman who had to give up driving describe it this way: "It's like somebody cut off my left arm." Living alone. Most of us have spent a fair amount of our lives living with others. Our later years may be the first time we are living on our own. Loss of spouse or partner. Often, after almost a lifetime together, older adults have to adjust to a life without their significant other. Busy or not present families and loved ones. If we have children, often they are busy raising children of their own. Perhaps careers or high cost of housing have dictated a move to a new community or a new state. Our peers may be experiencing the changes listed here as well, making it more challenging to stay connected. Lack of purpose. Whether we enjoyed our work or not, it was a reason to get up every day and do something. Our role within our family has also changed as children have grown and become less dependent upon us. Reduction in income. Let's imagine that while I was working, I enjoyed season tickets to the ball games or Friday night dinners out with good friends. Living on a reduced income, I might decide those social outings are no longer in my budget. These are just a sample of the reasons why we become isolated. It typically doesn't happen overnight, but slowly our opportunities for social engagement can diminish. We know some of the challenges sometimes all too well. Let's move on now to discuss some solutions. Social engagement solutions. Let's try some. Discover options for transportation. Yes, they are out there. As we surrender our keys, or before, it could be a good time to learn and try new ways of getting from point A to point B. Discover the specific options that are available in your community and give them a try, perhaps before you need them. Embrace technology. Like it or not, technology is here to stay. If we want to keep in touch, especially with the next generation, technology can be a friend. Often local senior centers offer classes that can help us to get to know our new friend better. Talk to a professional. Perhaps we've never done this before, but if the challenges caused by aging start to overwhelm us, this may be the time for us to reach out for help. Surrender preconceived ideas. I'll give you an example on this one. I have an acquaintance who doesn't believe in volunteerism. She believes that everyone should get paid for what they do. She's now moved into a time in her life when she has time, lots of time, too much time. She's a former educator and would make a wonderful tutor or classroom volunteer, but her preconceived ideas about volunteerism are keeping her from what could be a great life experience. Seek new experiences. It's okay to try something new. Maybe it ends up not a good fit, but let's give ourselves permission to give new things a try. Make it a habit. Let's say we've tried the new experiences and we liked it. Now we want to make it a part of our lives. That will take some repetition. Explore the local senior center. One word about what senior centers have to offer. Wow. If you haven't walked through the door yet, do it. I think you will be amazed at all the different activities and classes that are offered, and usually at no charge. I lead workshops at different senior centers, and each one tends to have its own level of vibrancy. So if you find you don't enjoy one particular center, don't hesitate to explore one in a neighboring community. Build relationships. My mother-in-law lived to the age of 98, and late in life built lasting friendships with ladies she met through a church group. She often joked that her best friends were only in their 70s. Maybe it's classes at a senior center or a church group or volunteer work, but be open to building new relationships. Volunteer. Volunteering can help you conquer many of the above. Let's continue to talk about solutions and discuss some reasons for volunteering. Why volunteer? Reduce social and collective loneliness. There are different types of loneliness. Emotional loneliness being how we feel from the lack of intimate relationships. Social loneliness is a lack of satisfying contact with family members, friends, neighbors, or other community members. Then there's collective loneliness, a feeling of not being valued by the broader community. When we volunteer in our community, both social and collective loneliness can be reduced. If we end up making a deeper connection with someone and a friendship results, we may also reduce our emotional loneliness. Make a difference in someone else's life. Many of my volunteers share with me that this is their best takeaway from their volunteer work. I know this has always been true for me too. Give back to the community. As older adults, we may find we now possess both the time and the talents to share with our broader community. I had a volunteer say to me, "No matter how little I have, I feel like I have so much. My volunteer work is my gratitude in action." Find renewed purpose. On the brink of volunteer work many years ago, I put it this way: I want to find meaning in life beyond my home. I became a friendly visitor, a volunteer who visits an isolated older adult. That volunteer experience changed my life. Learn new skills. Volunteering can offer the opportunity to train and learn new skills and put them into practice. We might want to call upon previous work experience, but this can also be a chance to explore something completely new. Meet new people. I have a group of volunteers called the Give Backers, volunteers 55 plus, who help out in the community whenever they can. Some of these volunteers, who came to volunteering as strangers, are now celebrating each other's birthdays and having dinners together. Socialize. We now understand how important this is to our overall health. Volunteering provides you with an opportunity to engage with both your fellow volunteers and those who you help. So, we've decided to volunteer. Now what? Let's discuss some suggestions for making the most of our volunteer experience. Follow your passion. I really can't emphasize this enough, so I'll say it again. Follow your passion. Ask yourself, what are those values and causes I care most deeply about? When I asked myself this question, my answer was older adults. By the time I was 31, I had lost both my parents. This left a hard-to-fill void in my life. When I looked for volunteer work, I knew I wanted to do work on behalf of older adults. I am passionate about helping older adults experience a high quality of life. There are many wonderful causes out there, and we don't all have to follow the same one. Think about it. What is your passion? Align with the organization's mission. Ask yourself, do my values line up with the mission of this organization? You want to find an organization that believes in your passion too. Explore options. This is a time to do some research. Volunteer Match is one online idea for exploring the different volunteer opportunities in your community. Ask friends and family if they know of any volunteer opportunities that might be a good match for you. If you know someone who volunteers, ask if you can join them for an activity to see if it is a good fit for you. Keep driving distance in mind. I have found that most of my volunteers prefer to volunteer at locations within their own communities. Consider training and expenses. It's not unusual for training to be expected for some volunteer work. You may also be required to wear a uniform or particular clothing or shoes. Some volunteer work requires background checks or TB testing. Ask about the requirements for your volunteer position before you sign up to volunteer. Discuss expectations before making a commitment. This is a really important conversation to have with your contact at the organization. Here's some suggestions for questions to ask. Is training provided for this opportunity? If so, is there any cost associated, and how much time? Any additional background checks or testing needed? How many hours a week or month is expected? How flexible is the schedule? Will I report my volunteer hours on a regular basis? If so, how will I do that? Who will I be volunteering with and for? Can you describe a typical volunteer experience with your organization? Shadow a current volunteer. Shadowing can be a great opportunity to learn more about an organization and the work they do. It can also be an opportunity to meet someone new and help determine if the values of this organization line up with your passion, those things you care deeply about. I wanted to share with you what some of my real-life volunteers have to say about their volunteer work. So I asked 3 of my volunteers, why do you volunteer? And here's what they had to say. First up is Norah, a retired school teacher who now takes a lead role at the Give Backer events. Norah says, I'll do anything to bring a smile to someone's face. In the picture below, Norah is the one in the turkey hat. Norah was volunteering at a Thanksgiving event. I assure you that silly turkey hat brought many smiles that day. Norah says she likes to be active and engaged. She finds her volunteer work gives her purpose. It's also brought her the gift of new friendships. She feels like she's contributing to her community, and time spent volunteering has a positive impact on the rest of her life. Next up is Denny, one of my guided autobiography lead volunteers. Denny leads workshops where she helps seniors write their life stories. Denny is a retired high school teacher. She was initially a participant in one of my workshops where she met a new friend, and they continue to be friends to this day. Denny likes to see that breakthrough moment with her participants, a moment when through their writing and sharing, they see their lives in a new way or experience new friendships with other participants. Denny feels we all have a need to share and make social connections. She's been retired for 10 years and finds her volunteer work stimulating. She also enjoys the flexibility of her volunteer work and having it fit around the many other activities in her life. My final volunteer that I'd like to introduce you to is Claudia. Claudia also leads guided autobiography and writing groups. Over the years, she has worn many different hats, including elementary school teacher and private reading instructor. Moving into the corporate world, she focused on employee training and customer service. She also enjoyed starting up her own scrapbooking business and one of her most demanding careers, homemaker. Claudia says, find something meaningful to you. Through her volunteer work, she's enjoyed sharing about common life experiences, and she finds people can transition from strangers to friends. Claudia thinks we all have a need for connection. We want to discover a way to meet that need. Claudia recommends opening up and sharing about yourself as a way to build new relationships. She believes that those small life interactions are important too. As our presentation draws to a close, I'd like to invite you to think about a branching point in your life. A branching point is one of the topics we write about in our guided autobiography workshops. It's a time in your life when your life changed, sometimes unexpectedly. We've all had many branching points in our lives: births and deaths, marriage, divorce, graduations, moves across the country or from another country, military service, war, a new job, the loss of a job, retirement, and I've only named a few. Think about a branching point in your life that you'd like to share. And think of someone who doesn't know your branching point that you'd like to share your branching point story with. When you have the chance, share about your branching point and ask your person to share about a branching point too. I promise you we'll both get to know each other more, and that is one way we can build new relationships. I have one closing thought I'd like to leave you with, and that is a quote from Susan J. Ellis. Susan passed away recently, and she was a formidable force in the volunteerism world and passionate about volunteer work. In this quote, Susan is referring to Paul Revere from colonial times, who bravely rode forth to warn the colonists that the British were advancing. Paul Revere earned his living as a silversmith. But what do we remember him for? His volunteer work. All activism is volunteering, and that it's done above and beyond earning a living and deals with what people really care passionately about. On behalf of Independence at Home, I'd like to thank you and all the members of Lacers for your attention to our presentation and interest in this topic. Our organization offers a wide range of volunteering opportunities in service to older adults. If you'd like to learn more about us, please feel free to contact us through the information below. We'd love to have you join our caring and compassionate volunteer team.